Welcome, Night Owls, to the Book Club After Dark podcast, an inviting moonlit podcast. I'm your host, Danny.
And I'm Michelle. We break down fantasy, romantasy, dark romance, and thriller novels.
Indeed. All things enchanting, intriguing, suspenseful, and maybe a little spicy.
Each episode features intimate discussions on captivating stories, character breakdowns, fan theories, and more. And this is your content warning. This podcast contains mature themes and discussions that may not be suitable for all audiences. Episodes include explicit language and descriptions of mature romance, as well as depictions of violence and other intense subject matter. This podcast is rated R for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Going forward from here, of course, we're going to have lots of spoilers for Anathema by Keri Lake. This episode in particular, we're going through chapters 27 through 39. Also wanted to note that our episode will, of course, include our mystery Q&A at the very end and a interesting down the rabbit hole, which by the time the episode airs, you'll know the answer to where we're going, but I think it'll still be a good down the rabbit hole segment anyway. So more to come.
Can't wait. Let's get cozy because the best stories are told after dark.
Yes. So tonight we have our new drink of the episode, which is our freshly called burnt orange. That's what we're calling this.
Ooh.
Okay. So it's essentially, I actually had a really fun time making this one, Michelle. I can't wait till you see the video because I actually broiled oranges for this. I sprinkled Demerara sugar on the top and then I put them in the broiler at 450 for like, I don't know, 10-ish minutes, maybe less, just depends on if it's already preheated. I use my toaster oven, so you don't necessarily have to do it this way. You can probably air fry them too. It doesn't really matter. The intent is to get like this crisp finish on top of each of the oranges. And then when you put the sliced orange, you can use one into the drink. You're getting this like burnt orange type of finish to it and the sweetness of the sugar. Yeah. So there's that. There is Irish whiskey. And then I have a old-fashioned simple syrup mixer that I've had for a little bit. That's like a fancier brand. I don't know offhand what it is, and they didn't sponsor this, so why does it matter? One day. A mixer. So I used that, and it came out pretty good, I have to say. And so this is basically an old-fashioned with like a burnt orange flavor to it.
Ooh.
And then for the video, which I won't do here because, safety, it's a smoked one, so like even further kind of pushing the burnt piece of it. My husband has this like smoker kit thing that he got like a Christmas ago or who knows when, and you put have you seen these? You like put the lid on it, you like light the fire, and then it gets so anyhow, in the video, which you'll see when it posts on social media, I did this. Did I have to ask for a little bit of help? Maybe. Did I just know this innately of how to use this kit? Probably. Maybe not. I don't know. Either way, you'll see me use this to get this going. And so you basically put it on the top, you light the thing, and then the smoke gets into the drink and you take the lid off and you can see the smoke come out, but also it kind of like immerses in the beverage and gives like this smokier flavor. So again, hence the title Burnt Orange. Why, Michelle, would I name a drink Burnt Orange? I just wonder. So our girl, Mavis, she has been referred to countless times as smelling of oranges in this book. This is like her signature scent. And specifically in chapter 28, Zavander says that she is this like dream he can't get rid of. It's like this burnt orange smell that's like stuck in his nostrils. And he doesn't mean it in like an endearing way. He's pissed because he's always pissed. But I just thought if there was ever a time to like do an orange drink, I was waiting to figure out when. It was when their storylines start to really merge. And so we have the smoke kind of representing him and his kind of dark shadow daddy nuanced stuff that he's got going on. And then her that is representing that smell, that burnt orange smell that she's described as so much. So therefore, we've got an old fashioned because Mavis is coming from a very old fashioned community. And so I just felt like all those elements kind of tied really
this
well
drink
to
is
create our drink.
Littered with symbolism.
Layered.
Every aspect of it.
Yes. So in it again, we have fresh orange juice from the broiled oranges, which I'll show you how to make in our video. It has Irish whiskey, and then it has a simple syrup old-fashioned mixer. which you can Google. There's a couple different things that you can put for an old fashioned, but you can use a mixer. You can, Google it to create your own of what you'd like to put in. But fairly straightforward. It is delicious. It's not very liquor forward, which old fashions tend to be. This one's definitely on the milder side. And then I used a freeze dried orange garnish on the inside to kind of float it. So cheers. That's our drink of the episode tonight. So here we go.
Cheers. It looks pretty.
You would like this one. It's good. It's mild. You can definitely taste the whiskey on the back end. It's good. It's a good drink.
Ooh, maybe it can be my first one back.
This is like not super alcohol forward, but it's still, I know you like your old fashioned, so I feel like this one would be a good one. Plus it gives you like a fancy feeling that you could make at home because you get that whole burnt orange thing. You went like 2 extra steps to like cook some oranges and get the, sugar melted on there and get them nice and broily. And it just adds an extra complexity of flavor. And it's not that challenging to make, which is all things I love. So I feel like it's a drink that's a win. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tonight, we're diving into the Eating Woods again as we continue to explore chapters 27 through 39 of Anathema by Keri Lake. If you are just joining us, we have 2 previous episodes that we have covered Anathema chapters on, so don't start here. Make sure you start at the beginning. Our expectation is that you've read Anathema at least until this point, and we will not be discussing Eldritch just yet, so there will not be spoilers for that book. But regardless, both are by Keri Lake. 3rd book is coming out later this year. We're very excited for this trilogy. It's going to wrap up, and we're happy that you're here with us. So whether you're here reading along or you're just here for the book talk, we are always glad that you're here.
Okay, let's get started with chapter 27. So this is Maveth's perspective. If you're following along with us on the map, we are now in Etheria. So like Danny said earlier, Maveth and Zavander's worlds are colliding right now. So she is no longer in Mortasia, in the mortal world. She is in Etheria. And Maveth is locked in a cellar, and all she wants to do is she wants to get Alacia, which basically sets her main motive for the rest of the book. Everything she does is a driving point to get back home to Alacia because she's worried she's dead, or Moros has her, or the thing in the woods, a lot of different things could have happened to her. The reason why she's there is because the guards haven't seen a mortal in forever, and they're kind of an oddity, and the guards want the prisoners to toy with her in very grotesque ways, and they want to watch. So the guards get a specific prisoner to have fun, quote unquote, not fun. And then she realizes her cellar is like infested with bugs, which gross. There's so many bugs in this book. And I'm just like, why? Why is there so many bugs? We haven't gotten to the spiders yet. But yeah, so these huge bugs, there's black ones, one's covered in red markings. They're like crawling all on her, biting her.
I know.
And then guard opens the door, scares the bugs away, and they bring in another prisoner. Basically, they like face off, and the prisoner doesn't think Maveth is strong. So he like hands her a knife, essentially. So like she has something to defend herself with, which ends up being a poor choice on his part because the prisoner's also kind of afraid of mortals in a way because they don't know. Like they have like these theories of like what mortals are. They're like disease ridden. They're
well, that they can like curse her, like because she could like infest them with her mortal mortality. God forbid.
From down there.
Just snatch them right up from down yonder.
Right, exactly.
The vagina of death.
Yes, which they're crazy. But this helps Maveth out, so she ends up really standing up for herself. But she also needs help from this big-ass scorpion that just kind of comes out of nowhere. And she's so confused because it happens so quick. Because, like, all of a sudden, this scorpion's, like, in the doorway. And, like, giant scorpion. So, like, human-sized scorpion. And it just starts, like, killing all the guards. And they're all dead. Yeah. And then her vision turns to black, which happens a lot.
It does happen
This is something in fantasy books that happens so many times. Like, in Fourth Wing, in ACOTAR, like in any sort of fairy book, like the human just falls to black, fades to black. And I'm
so sometimes I wonder, you ever think they're like, go to their editors and like, I don't know what to do here. And they're like, oh, it just fades to black. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, right.
No, that's for sure. It's a writing. But and what was it? When we were reading Serpents in the Wings of Night.
Oh my gosh,
Your
so many
girl
times.
would like
Yeah.
pass out so many times. It's like you were
Mhm.
trusting for whatever reason to just pass out. I can't. So, but
Yeah.
she passes out, and fortunately, our not so heroic hero person
Anti-hero.
has come has come to her rescue.
Yeah, and so I wonder too if on this note in this chapter specifically, if you I think that Keri Lake is telling us the story of like fear of the unknown, right? And so you have
Of course.
first of all, you have the overarching story of like if you're a piece of shit asshole, you're going to get what's coming to you at some point and Keri Lake's going to be sure that that happens. And also which she does. And then the other side of it is that if you fear the unknown, then it's easier to spin web of lies about
Mhm.
capability of the unknown, thus why they think that a mortal has all this, power to infest and all these things. And it's just interesting that the tell on misinformation and how that can inform decision making and even emotional response. And I kind of got a lot out of this chapter, maybe more than was intended, but it was interesting to me. She's coming from this different world, and I think
Mhm.
you would think that she would feel some type of way, but it's them who are like saying all these things about her.
Yeah,
And
they're afraid of her.
it's like, she's like, I'm scared for my life. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So she's having a bit of a hard time. And chapter 28, we have one of my favorite tropes ever, which is what, Michelle? You tell me
One
what's one of your
horse,
favorites.
which is the one
Yeah,
horse.
we got a one horse trope. Woo, woo. We got our first one horse trope in chapter 28. So let's bring it. We'll see if there's more one horse tropes throughout this series, but tally 1 for the one horse trope. We've got it in chapter 28. We're going into chapter 28, and it's a Mavis chapter again in a row. We talked about this a little bit, even in episode 1, of kind of how Keri Lake likes to give more Mavis POVs. And this kind of continues throughout the book of her setting up Xvander perspective. So we get another Mavis chapter. We also get two people, one horse trope. And we get Mavis referring to Xvander with an orange element as well. My favorite quote, the quote that we're basing this drink of the episode on, is in chapter 29, and 28 references it as a beginning of a setup. So we'll talk about that more in just a minute. So Mavis, our girl, old girl felt passed out last chapter, and she's back up, and she's like, what the fuck's going on? And she's on a dude's horse, you know? Okay. But we're out of the
Yeah.
prison. So I feel like this is good. We're out of our
Yeah.
cell. We've been rescued, we think. We don't know. We don't know who this dude is, but okay.
From one
And
cell to another.
yeah, right. Well, gilded cage. So Xvander is taking her through the woods, right? And Mavis is like, listen, I need to get back to my sister, which we can all empathize with. Her sister, the way we ended last episode, it was not looking too good for our girl Alasia. It's not looking good at all. Mavis is like telling him, I really need to get back. She could be dead. I don't know what I'm going to do. She then is demanding it, or she's going to walk home. And he's just like, yeah, okay. Yep. And the other thing is that like they're in like this mythical, magical, swamp-like thing.
Mm-hmm.
So she's looking around and she sees what the way I saw this in my mind, and I'm just going to let you like try to figure out how you saw this in your mind, which makes no logical sense once I explain it, but just go with it.
Okay.
In my mind, I saw like, do you remember Pokemon Go? I'm going to age myself.
Yeah.
Millennial age
That's
myself.
that's not much aging, but yes.
Just wait. Do you remember Pokemon Snap?
Of course. That was like N64.
So I imagined this large toad with fangs that she saw as like a Pokemon Snap situation. Because remember how they were like all the Pokemon are just like floating in the water? Look, if you're just joining us and this is where you've like bumped into the middle of the episode, I'm so sorry, but it is relevant. So
Also
you know how
sorry.
in your mind, right? Like I usually envision the book pretty well. And I don't know, for some reason, when she sees this like, ridiculously large toad with fangs, the way I was like, oh, a Pokemon.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
in the
of the
wild,
Bulbasaur family. Like one of those, like in
Yeah.
the fam. Yeah, except we don't want to take pictures because they're real nasty. But that was like what I thought of initially. And then they start to really describe it. And I was like, oh no, we don't want to collect that one. We don't need to catch them all. That one we can let go. We don't need to do that. So Xvander's like, God damn it, let me get off this horse and fight this stupid thing. This girl is going to be the death of me, you know? And we don't get his point of view yet, but I imagine this is what
No.
he's thinking as she's
Like,
just
"Ah,
like
fuck."
complaining
Yeah.
the whole time. Yeah. And then she pieces it together that she knows who he is, like all of a sudden, because she's like, God, who is this dude? I freaking feel like I know him. Da, da, da. This is where we have her talk about burnt orange, specifically referring to him and his around his irises of his eyes and how she sees this color in his eyes. And so we get this relationship to orange. Then the next chapter, he makes a reference to orange. Therefore, again, symbolism of our drink. I think we get it now. And we've got our drink of the episode here. So she pieces it together, and then she's like, where am I? And he's like, you're in Etheria. You're out of where you were. You're out of the Mortasia somewhere else. You're not in there anymore. And, you know, you're just going to have to chill. We got to keep going. We got things to do. And she's just like, what's going on here? He then calls her a fool for crossing over. And
Sure, he was thinking other words, but yeah.
Well, yeah. She describes what she had seen, and they're kind of just having this back and forth of like what went on for her to end up crossing over. Because as we remember from chapters past, he slipped the scorpion into the guard. Scorpion grows. We know how he gets alerted that she has finally crossed over. So there's a lot of depth of information here. Which brings us to chapter 29, which has our quote that I'm very happy about, and we'll talk more about in just a minute. Go ahead, bring us through.
All right.
Michelle.
Chapter 29 is our first Zavander perspective in this episode, or this chunk of chapters. So he's carrying Mabeth up the stairs of the castle and runs into Rakaya.
We get to her castle.
We know Rakaya is his sister. And she's like, the entire time was like, what's that? Why is she here? Why is there a mortal here? Like, you know, like following him as he's just like grumpily like marching through the castle, which is what she does all the time. Like he's just like and like marches wherever he needs to go. I picture him like just stomping around essentially. And then she's just like behind him, like,
which I kind of love for her. Yeah. We love her.
Never ending stream of questions and comments. And he's just like,
and
oh my
he's
God,
just like,
just
oh
leave
my
me alone.
God, why do I have to exist with you as a sibling? Why? But he also loves her to pieces. So he can't help himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He keeps dragging her back. So I think he's fine. But he's basically like, mind your business. It's very sibling. Like, if you have a sibling, their relationship is very sibling-esque. He's like, mind your damn business. And she's like, well, you make it my business because you keep dragging me back here.
Exactly.
But he takes
accountability
Mabeth down.
I don't know him. That's Zavander. Yeah.
He takes Mabeth down to the dungeons, which is where Dolian is. So Zavander had cast a sleeping spell over Mabeth because she wouldn't shut the fuck up, essentially. So,
yeah, she wouldn't.
Yeah, so she's just like, shh. Which I would like that spell. Having a very young one.
Oh my God.
I would love that. Like shh.
Can you imagine?
Go sleep.
Yeah.
Go take a nap, please.
Literally. Nap is instantaneous.
Yes, I would. Yeah. That I didn't realize that was a magic that I could have. That is a magic. Instantaneous nap.
Do you want it for yourself or you want it for someone else? Like,
oh no, I want it for my baby.
You want to put someone else to
and
sleep. Okay.
My baby and my daughter. And I love, like, they're not even bad sleepers, but especially my 5-year-old, she's just like a needy talker. Like she just wants to like trauma dump her entire day. That wasn't traumatic, but she just wants to dump it all out on me. It's like, okay.
She's really sweet about it though.
No, for sure. She just wants cuddles, but I'm like, it's been 30 minutes. Can we stop?
Oh, yeah, exactly. No, totally understand. The bedtime just seems to go on in this household. We do a book and then we do another book and then we want to talk about our day that we already talked about when we picked you up from school. But by all means, continue, you know?
Yeah.
Fine.
Anyways, segue. So Dolian is like, she's kind of gross. Maybe she could use a bath. And the fact that like Zavander's just like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, I didn't sign up for any of this. You figure out her bath. I'm like, she deserves at least a bath. Like, come on. And everyone's like commenting on how much she stinks this entire time. It's like, wow, let's just
meanwhile, because they've been through a freaking swamp. I mean, what did you want? I mean, they went through a swamp with
prison.
Yeah, and then before that, she was running through the woods, almost about to be eaten. I mean, what do you want? But he also says this quote, my favorite quote
okay.
of what we're covering. It's not really my favorite. It's just so points to the fact that he's pissed about this whole situation. In his own mind, he goes, the scent of her, like mouth-watering oranges, sent a wild rush to his senses. He'd been gifted some relief in the bog when the odor of rot and sulfur had masked it. But once past the swamp, it had commandeered his every thought, driving him mad with need. Not even the faint whiff of piss on her detracted from the overpowering smell of whatever the fuck that was. And the
Oh
way
my
I
God.
read this, and I was like, this man, okay.
He's honest. He's very
Yeah,
honest
cracks me up.
in his observations. And let's not forget that she literally peed herself when she ran into the guards that first time. So she has soiled
Yeah.
all aspects of herself,
That's why
and she was just
Dolian's
in the
like,
woods.
why is she so disgusting? And he's like, what do you mean? Because he cannot smell her the same way at all.
Mhm. No.
Yeah.
So Dolian, back to Dolian. So Zavander tells him that Maveth saw this creature in the Eating Woods that we talked about. And Dolian believes the creature is actually Cadavros. So remember Cadavros from
Mhm.
from the prologue. He's supposed to be dead. He's supposed to be long gone.
Correct.
But Dolian doesn't think so. And he thinks that maybe that the king actually banished him instead of killing him. So then he has these comments that he had like his visions.
Mm.
He imagined him returning from the very flame that consumed him, which is like the sable fire. It's essentially summoned from death. So now he's like, okay, well, I had these visions where you were standing with Cadavros, and now I'm having a continuation of the vision where he's like literally being summoned. So
Mhm.
maybe he's there and he just hasn't had access to Vivicantum, which makes sense because if remember when Moros gave the creature Vivicantum, he was just like, oh, like nom 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 nom, Cookie Monster, essentially. And then
Mhm.
like obviously ate him as well. So
Yeah.
but Moros also told the creature where all of the Vivicantum
Yeah.
is too. So
Mhm.
bad thing. And obviously they're wondering like why would he spare him? Like what would the reasoning be? Which we'll find out next episode when we talk about that and actually have interactions with the king. Dolian ends up giving Mabeth the Vicantum, and then this death sigil appears on her skin. So now she's getting like she already has access to her magic, but we're getting more peeks into that because for the next chapter she's going to try to figure out her and Dolian, and we have another character coming in called Alora. They're going to essentially figure out her magic and like what she has access to because it's unique per the individual, which is what I liked about this magic system. It's not like,
Mhm.
Hogwarts where you can like learn whatever the fuck you want.
Everything.
And yeah, but it's connected to your bloodline. So I like that. That was pretty unique. And Zavander's obviously like confused by all of this because Dolian has access to historical information, specifically on the Corvicae, which we know that's like Maveth's background now. So the Corvicae are the mortals in Aethera, and essentially they worship Morgana. They have access to some magic, but they are mortals, and they were driven out of their lands into this deep dark trench, and they're supposed to be no more. They have these Corvigon. So Dolian has this book that only the Corvicae have access to. So now this is going to be kind of like a fun little puzzle book that Maveth gets to
Yeah.
experience in her downtime. Some of it is through her blood. Some of it is through different sorts of magic that she has to use. I liked this sort of aspect that she kind of has to work for like her background knowledge and it's not really given to her. But yeah. And Dolian's really obsessive over keeping Mavis safe because he kind of had a part or hints at a part of the reason why the Corvicae are gone in the first place. And he's
Mhm.
like, yeah, I'm not going to end a bloodline again. I have an opportunity to save this bloodline now. I'm not going to do that. So she needs to pass down her power before she dies, essentially. So obviously I think this like hints at that there's going to be a
NBD.
pregnancy trope at some point in time throughout this series.
Agree.
She has to pass down that bloodline. So, and as they are in this cell, it's all of them, a thumping sound comes from this trap door, and they see a cat-sized spider that just comes out and attacks Dolian, like just casually. Like the door is locked. The door is locked and like, chained, but the spiders can get through. Cat-sized spiders. I can't. I'd burn the whole place to the ground. I'm sorry. We're not doing cat-sized spiders or bigger because they do
It's
get
your
bigger.
sibling though, but it's your
I know,
sibling.
but the spiders don't have to be. Branimir can stay. He's fine. The
Okay,
spiders can go away.
got it.
But yeah, so the way Zavander like checks on Brandomir, which is really full, he like lowers a mirror and like kind of tries to see like a reflection to see where Brandomir is, and he always like
Yeah.
hisses at the mirror every time he like lowers it down. And we get the description of him. His face is bark-like, his eyes are onyx, he has 3 horns on his head. So he's not turning into a spider, he's turning more into the thing from the Eating Woods, which Mavis does comment on when she gets her first encounter with him. Zavander has tried to kill the spiders, so this is the answer to my question. But each time the nest grows bigger. My question is, has he tried to burn the entire fucking thing to the ground? Because maybe if you burn all of it at one time, then they won't grow back. But he even tried to kill Branimir, and it just spiders don't go away. And they have this fun ability to actually infect people with what Branimir has, his infection from the Sable Fire. And
Yay.
but what's stopping the infection is Branimir. Essentially, he doesn't want this power. Like, he's not mad with power. He's like hates his
No.
life. He would actually
Mm-hmm.
rather die than be what he is, but he can't. So this is another driving point for Zavander to want to cure himself, because he could potentially cure Branimir, even though Branimir is a lot farther gone than he is, because he took the curse when he was older instead of Zavander, who took the curse as a baby. So he's like really far gone, but there could be some aspects of him that could be saved. So Zavander is donned with the next task by Dolian, which is to get a bone scribe. And essentially, bone scribes are literally what they are. They read bones, and basically through examining bones, they can tell history, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. A unique magic
And
system for sure.
yeah, for sure. He has to go to Castlewick anyways, and he is tasked to bring Alora back to the castle so Dolian can have her help out with the magic and figure out some bones and understanding some sort of things. But Dolian especially wishes to remain in the dungeon even after seeing the spiders, which really confused me, because I was like, why? You have a whole castle and you're chilling with the spiders. Why? We find out he's afraid of heights, but spiders.
Yeah. I guess the
Yeah.
devil, who knows?
If the devil I know is this cat-sized spider.
I mean, I don't, again, a fear is a fear. You're going to do what you're going to do. If you don't fear the spiders, you're going to go with
I
the
guess.
spiders. Chapter 30, we're in Mavis' perspective again. So we're swapping back over, and she's in a dream state. She's having this dream of Elijah is standing over her and telling her to wake up. And she's saying that she crossed in the night. She's asking her to come with her. And she wakes up and she screams because she, as we know, can see the dead. So now she's terrified that she just saw her sister and that what transpired in her dream happened in real life. But we have to remember, too, that when she sees dead people, she's awake during the time that she sees dead people. So historically, she's not been asleep. She's been awake when she sees these people. So when she wakes up, Zavander's sister is just chilling right by the cell. And she's like, everything okay here? What's going on? And she's like, why do you speak next to Rosie? And she's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And she's like, well, you're speaking our language. So how did you do that? And she's like, what do you mean? Like, what's going on here? Mavis kind of keeps telling Rakaya, I want to go back to the woods. You've got to free me. You've got to let me out of here. And Rakaya's like, I really can't do that. But what did you dream about? And Mavis like, the dead. But really, like, what's going on? And she's like, yeah, she kind of reminds Mavis, well, even though you're dreaming about that, you were dreaming. So it's possible that she's still alive. You shouldn't give up hope. She goes and gets her some food. She's trying to take care of her. Dolian wakes up and says, like, hey, you're not a prisoner, but also you can't leave. Like, you need to stay here. To me, defines a prisoner, but,
Right.
I guess we just have loose terminology with what that means, but sure. He tells her that Elijah would have died, actually, if she tried to follow her, because she doesn't have, well, we don't know if she has magical blood or not, but we know for a fact that she doesn't have the same type of blood that Mavis shares. So going through and crossing into the magical world could have been a cost that Elijah may not have been able to bear. So she kind of like, he kind of relays this information to her. She's taking this in. And this is where Dolian says, here, let me give you this book while we're waiting on Zavander to go see the king and do all of this. And the book looks like a raven. It contains a story that she can only see. And there are mages that are looking for her because of her abilities. It examines the scar on her palm and confirms that she has this unique, powerful magic that hasn't been seen in centuries. And that her blood specifically is what these mages want. So therefore, they could just keep her alive infinitely just to be able to have the power that runs through her bloodline. So cool that it's a blood magic type deal, but also like not cool for this other not great side of what this magical world would mean. So the Harry
Imagine,
Potter
like,
thing's kind of
Mavis.
looking a little bit better at this point.
Well, like Mavis
But
like drops into this world and she's like, I'm a mere mortal. And they're like, actually, you're not.
Just kidding, you're not. You have like one of the most
you have a lot of
power.
So, you're actually the last of your bloodline. So it'd be nice if you learned all this shit. So chapter 31 is now Zavander's perspective. And he is leaving that castle, is going to Castlewick to see the king. But first, he has to do his little side quest where he's seeking out Allura, the Bone Scribe. And he has his friend, Casimir, to get her, along with other items for Dolian, which these items are borrowed items. Zavander enters the castle and runs into Prince Dorjan. And the interaction with Dorjan is the prince does what he wants, essentially, as long as he produces an heir for the king. So Zavander understands like some secrets that the prince has and has kept them for him, just so, like he prefers men ultimately. And the king like turns an eye to that as long as he produces an heir. And I feel like this was very common if you see any sort of like fantasy, romantasy, or any sort of story that kind of has this sort of time period. It's in the story. You'll have this trope or this theme with the princes. King Sagrin tells Zavander that guards have gone missing. And Zavander's like, oh no, guards have gone missing? I have no idea what that's all about. And then a guard specifically has mentioned Zavander's name and then died because the scorpion that Zavander gave him killed him and turned all of his organs to liquid, which is a fun thing. And I guess when you kill someone, especially with magic, it leaves behind an aura. And an aura was left behind. And essentially the apprentice to the Mage Lord determined that it's a Corvicae aura. And Zavander's like in his head internally, he's like, oh shit, they're like piecing all this together.
They already
I
know.
need this to not happen.
How could they already know? Like she just
like,
got here.
Come on,
like,
this
Jesus.
just happened 2 chapters
Literally.
ago. And the Mage Lord said the Corvicae were hostile and spread diseases. So again, this is this whole misinformation that you were just talking about, that the Corvicae are this disease-ridden people. And Zavander's like, yeah, I don't think so. That's not it. They also think Dolian is the one that's making all the bloodstones, which Zavander kind of pieced together. That's what they were thinking. So we're introduced to, the Mage Lord and the captain. They believe Zavander has something to do with the missing guards. And the king is very much like, no, I don't. And he doesn't. I trust him. But, he does. So the king has misplaced his trust, but he has to go through essentially what is called, I don't know, it would be like a lie detector test, but he has to take this toxin called
it's a truth
no-mirth.
serum.
Yeah, and essentially if you don't tell the truth or if you lie, you like throw up. It's not fun. So the Mage Lord has like this apprentice, and her name is Melfana. And she's the one that's asking all of these questions. And essentially it's a series of questions. She has baseline questions like, where are you born? What's your sigil? All that sort of thing. And then she asks the questions that are more intense. Did you carry out the request to kill Dolian? Yes. And then, his stomach is bubbling, but he's actually like keeping it all down. So he ends up because he has built an immunity to this, he ends up lying to protect himself, even though like his stomach is like on fire. And the king ultimately put an end to the questioning and dismissed everyone besides Zavander, even though he's like trying, like dying inside, like he really was like, you know,
Yeah.
given.
Mm-hmm.
And the king invites him to Princess Kalisa's becoming ceremony. And this is another awful ceremony for this time
Oh God.
period
Yeah.
where
Really.
essentially when a girl turns 17, the becoming ceremony is thrown so men can fight for her virginity. And I think
Nuts.
it's not like they're fighting for her hand in marriage either. It's
No.
just her virginity, which
It's a
is
one-time
awful.
thing.
Yeah, yeah. So, and he's inviting the Salesians, which the king is like, just want you to know that I have no choice. It's out of politeness. I have to invite them. General Lois is going to be there. I want you to have a heads up about this. And remember, the Salesians are the people that the king sold Zavander to and then bought Zavander back from. So,
Correct.
you know, and that's where he had all the, you know, he was a slave for a century. And the king ultimately has tried to find a cure for Zavander's curse, but has had no luck. He gives Zavander Vivicantum since it seems to slow down his progression because he knows Branimir and basically what Branimir's fate has been. And then we find out why the king has not killed Cadavros, or potentially has not killed Cadavros, is he has like this dragon claw with this like, it's essentially a pendant. And what he describes it as Pandora's box, where it contains sorrow, disease, violence, madness, and death. And essentially the prince's blood is in this amulet. And if something were to happen to the prince at any point in time, a plague will be unleashed in the entire area and all of Nixteros will be destroyed. Cadavers made the amulet, so it's very important for Zavander to essentially keep the prince really close for this becoming ceremony, so their entire world doesn't like die. I would say that's an important aspect.
There's some pressure. A little bit of pressure.
A little bit. Yep.
Tiny bit.
And then later, Zavander leaves the king and he ends up throwing up the toxin, and Malfana finds him again and is trying to like get more information from him. You're not supposed to like Malfana. She's kind of slimy in a way where she's just trying to, she knows that he has something to do with all the guard, that he has something to do with the Sable Fire and with the Bloodstones, but she doesn't know how to prove it, and she's trying to find a way to prove it. And he's like denying everything, and you know, but she's like, well, we can just be friends. Let's get to know each other. No, don't trust her. Yeah. Then Zavander returns to Eidolon Castle. Kaya questions him on Maveth, which he's obviously deflecting every question that
every
she
single
bombards
question
on him.
She asked so many.
Yes. And he tells her about the new Mage Lord and the Nilmirth, and he ultimately agrees to let Maveth take a bath. Thank you for giving her this one decency of having her take a bath. But Rakaya must watch her. And Rakaya, she even says herself that she's not very good at following directions. Like, she'll follow some directions and then kind of cause chaos because she wants some entertainment. So this ends up not working in Zavander's favor, or kind of working in his favor, depending on what perspective you want to look at. And then he tells the other assassins that Maveth is there and they are not allowed to go near her. So this is where touch her and die comes in. Touch her and die. I love that.
Love the touch her and die. Chapter 32 is Maveth's perspective. So we have Zavander who brings her some food to the cell. This whole time she's talking to him and is trying to come up with a way to get him to let her out. And he's not going to do that for a number of reasons. Obviously, we just had a touch her and die situation, so he's definitely not letting her go anywhere. But also he's trying to let her know that there's a reason that you're here. You have a purpose. Dolian's going to tell you that, and you're going to have to start doing this training with him. And she's like, the fuck? Like, what are you talking about? There's this moment between her and him. There's a lot of banter here, a lot of good tension banter where he's honestly a dick. He's not nice to her. And she's clearly like really trying to beg. Remember, she's in a cell. She doesn't know where she's at. You know, girl hasn't even had any real care just yet. And she just is like desperate. And she says, I'll beg if that's what it takes. I will beg you to take me back. And then he's like, beg all you like. I'd quite like to see you on your knees. And I'm like, Zavander. My
Sir.
friend, sir, excuse me. No, not the time.
This
Read
is
the
not the
room.
time. No.
Literally, like, not even close. Are we reading the
Mhm.
room? And, she starts yelling, like, your sister was right. You're a tyrant beast and, like, all this other stuff because she's fucking
Mhm.
pissed, and I don't blame her. He is like, oh, clearly you've not considered my point of view. Do you think I want you? Do you think I want to be your keeper? I'd sooner toss you, out. And she's like, well, fucking do it then. Like, what's the holdup? Toss me out. And he's like, your training begins at dawn. Don't change the subject, basically. But he's like, don't fuck with me, mortal. There are far too many painful ways to die. And so what's interesting too is he calls her immortal, but he knows she's not immortal. So
Right.
I think he'll get over yourself, Savander, at this point. The way I was
He's in
like,
denial of a lot of things.
get yourself together. But he's redeeming in the sense that you get his POV next. And if we didn't have
Mhm.
his point of view, I don't know if this book works, to be
Right.
honest. Like, I don't even think book 1 works if we don't get his point of view because he's so shitty to her that I think the story would be like, why are we even here? Why are we doing this?
Mhm.
You really wouldn't have enough context to get the story forward. So that's why I love that this book was so well captured as dual point of view and laid out so well throughout the book.
Right. Well, with Zavander, you get the yearning, and that's what the people want. The people
Yeah,
want the yearning.
we want the
Even
yearning.
though he's an
We do.
ass at to her face.
Enemies to lovers, right? But
Are
I
they
don't really call
enemies?
them enemies. No.
No.
No. Grumpy sunshine? Grumpy
No?
grumpy? She's definitely not a sunshine. That's for sure.
No, she's not. I don't know what they would be. It's not forced proximity.
I mean, kind of, but not
Yeah.
really because he seeks her out and like
Right.
traps her on purpose. So it's kind of forced
But we'll figure it
proximity,
out towards
but
the
no.
end.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get ourselves together here.
We'll
Yeah,
get
let's
it.
do it. Yeah.
So chapter 33 is Zavander's perspective. Zavander meets with Dolian to talk about his meeting with the king and Melthana and how Melthana is very determined to prove that Dolian is alive. And Dolian's like, please don't. So they kind of come up with this plan where Dolian has to lay low in Calixar. So if you look at the map, this is an island very far south. And essentially this is where Dolian is from, and it's also where Alora is from. So this is a land of basically for people who are of higher thinking is how it's phrased. Essentially, this is where the
Be
scholars go, and
educated.
this is
Yes.
yes. And they're going to go basically the night of the becoming ceremony, and that they have to essentially train Mavis from here on out until he leaves. So she has all of the knowledge that she can have, and then she'll get more when they're in Calixar. And he's going to talk about others in Calixar about the curse, essentially. Dolian essentially gives him bands, which is a family relic, to guarantee his return because Zavander's like, what if you don't come back? Like, why am I just going to let you leave? Because yes, they're working together, but it's not because they're friends. It's because they both have a shared goal, and who's to say one isn't going to turn on the other? So since he's the last of his bloodline, he never had a child. Basically, this is like going to guarantee Dolian's return. So Dolian's like, you need to train Mavis. And Zavander's like, the fuck I will. And Dolian's like, but I'm just a little old man. How am I going to train her this whole time? I don't have the
Yeah.
energy for that. And
Mm-hmm.
the way Zavander's like, me. Why? It's always me. And he eventually is like, fine, 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and then Dolian is taking her away.
Right. And so again, we see that Mavis has no say in her life. So more people telling her how she's going to live. This is going to go very, very well for her, I'm sure. This is all going to just settle really nicely. She's going to love it. Chapter 34 is in Mavis' perspective again. And the way Rakaria has me cracking up because she deliberately brings Mavis to Savander's bathing chamber because it's the best in the castle. Why not?
Of course.
Obviously. Makes the most sense. It's not going to put her scent all over the bathroom, NBD.
No.
There's nothing weird here that she's doing. She's not intentionally messing with her brother. Why would she do that? No. She's a pillar of innocence and, the white horse and all of this, So Kai is like one of my favorite characters. And so like we don't have a ton of humor in this book, but she's definitely the comic relief. And I really love her for that. So she asks her all the questions. How did you come over here? How did you, what happened? And oh, you got cursed by your village. That's fucked up. Like, I just imagine them having this, like, kind of heart to heartish girl time, if there's even a possibility of that. But of course, our girl Mavis is not in the right place. Her headspace is not good. She just breaks down crying. She's missing her sister. She's really having a hard time. And Rakai is that one relationship that she really needs in these chapters and in this moment. And again, I think Rakaya really lifts the story from a girl power perspective, but also from a comic relief perspective as well.
Sure.
And I think we as a reader needed to see something good happening for Mavis, even if it's subtle and in the form of a side character. We're definitely getting that here with Rakaya, and I think she's much needed perspective for Zavander as well. So she bathes, and of course, Zavander walks in. What a shock. Walks in, and she's using his soap.
His own bathroom.
Yeah, he walked into his own bathroom. How did that happen?
Oh.
And so she gets dressed, and she's like, oh, shit, leaves the bathroom. Zavander's like, all right, I guess I need to give you your own room because clearly, what the fuck, you don't have a place to bathe and stuff. So he's like, okay, you're going to have this upper floor. You have a locked door. And she's like, well, if you're going to lock me up there, fine. Just leave me in the dungeon. At least I have the spiders and Dolian and somebody to talk to down there. So just leave me there. And he's like, no. So he leads her to this kitchen, and then there's all this banter that they have back and forth. Magda is the cook downstairs. I like her as well. She's a good character. And she is pissed because she's like, why the fuck did you throw my porridge that I made for you? Because Zavander's a tattletale, and now she knows that the porridge got thrown. So he ends up taking her back down to the dungeon and locks her away because, again, he's not a friend. He's not a nice guy at this point, and it's going to take some time to break him out of his issues, which are many.
It's definitely like, this reminds me of like Beauty and the Beast, when like Beast is like grumpy. He's like, you just stay in here. And she's like, fine, I will. And like he like
exactly.
all just like stomps off, and when he tries to like make things better, she's like, fuck you. He's like, fine, this is why I don't do anything nice. So chapter 35 is Mavis' perspective, and she's in the dungeon, and she is humming the last song she sang to Alasia, and a spider appears on her bed. Because guess what? The spiders love songs. And the way
they are bebopping spiders. They love music.
They're just like swaying.
Hey.
I'm like, we're not gonna make spiders cute. I'm sorry, we can't do that.
Come on.
And she like grabs the raven book and throws it at it, and then it bit her, and then the book like clicked open with her blood. So first one unlocked. The book ultimately was a history of the Corvicae, and she like kind of goes through it. And the way the picture, like the book, is kind of like Harry Potter, where like the pictures are moving. So that was kind of cool.
That was cool.
Image of the castle, Corvus Keep, other illustrations. Basically, when her hand like touched over a shape or an image, it like kind of changed shapes. She's on Morzana, and this battle with the Raven people that fought the men with the yellow hair, and then there's dragons and the Corvigon, and they're fighting. So it kind of just tells like a history of her people. And then when she turns the page, it's another puzzle. So basically, she has to work for all these answers. And but she went to sleep, and she was worried about the spiders. And where I'm like, girl, same. I'm worried about the spiders too. I would be worried.
Exactly. And which makes sense. And so we keep going. So we had a Zavander one chapter go before this, so therefore we get chapter 36 is another Mavis chapter. So Rakaya wakes her up and is like, oh, I've got breakfast here. I'm going to tell you some stories about demons that my mother used to tell me, because why not? And she gives her some training gear to start training with Torin. And I confesses to sending Zavander to his room last night to find Mavis. She's a little troublemaker, this one. She really is. She's trouble. And she's like, I'm bad at following orders, so I'll just do the opposite of whatever anybody tells me to do, because why not? It's fun.
Yeah.
So Rakaya teaches her some simple glyphs that repels things nearby, and she can't do it. Mavis keeps trying, and she's arguing with Rakaya, and she throws her magic backward, and then a new symbol becomes etched in her palm. And then glyphs, again, are only summoned based on bloodline. So Rakaya is Lunaseer and depends for the moon for her power. Then there's Elveniras like Dolian that have a spiritual connection to their magic. Zavanders, again, is Sablefire, but then we have Scorpions that are also part of him as well. So Mavis gets dressed and is going to go train with Zavander. She has 2 weeks to learn her glyphs before she's set free, and Dolian tells her she's Corvikai, which is why she's there to train. So she's going to be training with Zavander under the pretense that this is a short period of time. You're going to be leaving with Dolian. And again, Mavis isn't fully on board with this idea, and rightfully so. She's like, more shit that you guys are gonna make me do, and I'm no closer to getting to my sister, which is what I've begged you all for since I got here. So again, we have a little bit of comic relief with the sister, but still at the end of the day, none of this is a good time for Mavis. She's basically kidnapped. So
Yep.
Well, there's no basically.
And
she
she's
is kidnapped.
learning so much information. These chapters start to get really heavy on both sides because Mavis has to learn all this information. Some of it's repetitive for the reader because we already got some of this information from Zavander, but now Mavis is learning the information. So these chapters tend to get really heavy at this point in time and until the end of the book, just because she's building this world that is such a complex magic system. So it becomes a lot. Well, chapter 37 is Mavis again. Mavis meets Revisio, which is one of the other assassins, and essentially he's going to be taking care of a Flamillion so Zavander can train Mavis. We talked about Flamillions before. These are the people that have been killing the sex cells. So, and this is specific one is the man who hurt Rakaya. So Revisio has a fun plan for him, and they all have a fun plan for him. Zavander starts with basic glyphs, which the one that she just learned is called Aries, which is like the pushing of the air. Then she tried to show him that she knows the glyph, and then she did the one where she made the bones appear like when she was back in Mortasia. So the magic, all these magic things these glyphs have names, but this one essentially is a bone whip, which sounds really cool, but she just summons bones for now. Later, it's going to be, pretty cool. Zavander makes her practice.
Yeah, but nobody can make these, times. Which is the crazier part. It's not a common magic. Yeah.
No. The bone whip is like unique to her because that's, Morzana, goddess of death. So that's unique to her bloodline. So there's the common glyphs that Zavander will teach her. And then the only way that she can get the ones that are unique to her bloodline is through like these sleep states that she has. And that's the only way she can get to those is if she practice more magic. And so, yeah, she essentially just has to keep practicing until shit appears on her hand. Zavander makes her practice until he's like satisfied, and he's never satisfied. And she eventually pushes Zavander across the room, which made her glyph become a major glyph. So there are minor glyphs and there are major ones, and the major ones glow. So again, building this complex magic system.
Right.
After this session, Mavis asks Dolian about like Zavander's past because he's a grumpy asshole, and tells her about the three other assassins and how the king bought them from the Salesians, and how the Salesians killed his father in front of him, and they were awful to like abused and assaulted his mother before taking her life. Rakaya was spared from that fate, even though they were going to, and we find out later why. In the next episode, we'll talk about why. Zavander ultimately blames himself for what happened to his family, which is why he is grumpy all the time. Then Alora visits Dolian and Mavis, and, she's able to read Mavis' past through touch, and she's essentially just there to keep the research with Dolian. And Mavis asks Dolian to reach her sister, and he agrees through scrying, which is a common magic we see in a lot of different major romantasy and fantasy novels. In Brimstone, this was like the magic of the witches. Essentially, you take a mirror and you can use the mirror to see where someone else is. And Dolian agrees, but he's like, yeah, don't get your hopes up because we're on the other side of the veil, the Umbra Veil, so might not be able to see her, or she might be dead. So, but I guess I'll try.
Right. Chapter 38 is Mavis' perspective again, so now third one in a row. And Dolian's getting ready to use the scrying mirror. He uses the ancient language, which is written out in text in the book. And Mavis is already translating this voice in her head. And she, not at the time, realizes this, but she kind of falls into a trance-like state and does end up seeing her sister. She's bruised and she's cut. She's next to a fire. She's calling for Mavis. And Dolian's like, oh, I didn't see anything. So Mavis sees her sister and gets some validation that she might be alive, which is kind of enough to satisfy her to a certain point, which we very much needed here for her, because otherwise, how do you keep writing a story where your main character chronically wants to leave? Like, how much further can we get with that? How can she get invested in any of these characters if she's just constantly in a state of absolute distress over her sister dying? So we really needed a moment of relief, and Dolian gives her that, even if he doesn't see the moment himself. So we finally get this reprieve of, okay, she's alive. I know she's alive. I saw her. I had a moment. I have to believe that she's alive. So Alora sits with Mavis and they move on. So she's able to kind of go open this book that had the raven on it and all that. And she's telling Mavis, Alora is telling Mavis the history of Morsana is the goddess of death, who she's telling her about, and also Deimos, this warrior who she fell in love with. So it's a classic dark tale. The dark god of alchemy ends up casting Deimos into sable fire to burn for eternity and imprisons Morsana, because why not? We can't have anybody be happy. Why would gods do that? That's not fun. So she takes the form of a raven and she goes to escape. So then Rakaya, taking pity on her, comes in and ends up taking Mavis to her chambers for the night, just to get her some reprieve. Because at this point, still, she doesn't have her own room yet because Zavander's an asshole. So there we go.
There we go. And I like how this is where we get the imagery of the raven for the Mersana, the goddess of death. So there's a reason behind the raven, and ravens ultimately resemble death in our world. That's what their symbolism for. But we get like the backstory for it in this world. So chapter 39 is Mavis' perspective, and Mavis is playing with her little puzzle. And she realizes that it's now like a clock that she has to line up the glyphs to unlock the next page. And it's another part of Morzana's story, which is a baby in a bassinet holding a rose, just like her. There's that connection there that she's getting.
Wild.
And then as she's looking at it, she looks up and sees the spider, the same one, the cat-sized one. And it's bringing her a mirror. It brings her a mirror and a key. The fact that these spiders
they're sentient.
Trinkets. Oh, yes. Very much. Yeah.
They like their little music. They can bring you little trinkets. Come on.
Yeah,
they're cute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My daughter is actually going through a phase where she likes to watch YouTube videos and watch like insects, because that's what they're learning in school. And she's like, come look at this one. It's about spiders, and they're like these big ass tarantulas. I'm like, no, mommy would rather not. You can watch it. It's fine. And so the spider is like luring her into the trap door, and she of course follows the spider, because that's what I would do.
Trinkets.
Follow the spider.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a puppy. And Rakaya like comes down and is trying to like get her away. Like, no, don't go down there. And the spider literally takes her and drags her down there. I'm like, yeah, that's what you get for trusting the spider that's able to bring you things. They take you. So she's down there, and there's spiders. And then there's Branimir, and she comes face to face with him. And she's like, oh, he looks like the creature from the Eating Woods. And Branimir, in his very raspy voice is like singing to the spiders to calm them down, because they're like food, essentially. Because essentially how they eat, yes, they get raw meat, but when Zavander has someone he doesn't like, he throws them to Branimir and his spiders for them to eat as well. So they're like food, and Branimir's telling her, no, you need to sing to them.
Do something.
And she does. Yeah.
She sings to them in this intimate moment.
Yeah. Okay. So this is where I'm like, okay, Branimir's not bad. It's not Branimir.
Yeah.
He unfortunately has spiders.
Affliction.
Yeah. So she's singing, and then he lays his head down in her lap, because he hasn't had like think of how long it's been since he's had
comfort
any
of
sort
any
of
kind.
comfort.
Yeah.
Even when Zavander was a child, he's been locked away. So, since basically Zavander's entire life, since he was born, essentially.
Yeah.
So she sang, and he has head in his lap, and he curled and cried. I'm like, oh, Branimir,
Yeah.
I hope your curse is lifted.
Right.
So
Yeah, your brother's an asshole, but we like you, Branimir. Poor guy.
we like you, even though you
He's
look
going
disgusting.
through it. Yeah, poor guy. It's not your fault,
But
bud. You've got an affliction.
No. But that wraps our chapters for this part of Anathema.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
Danny,
moving right along here.
Yeah. What's the
So
bookish
now
rant?
it's time. Yeah, we've got a down the rabbit hole segment, bookish rant. We may or may not have a Sarah J. Maas announcement after this episode airs. We don't know yet because as of the recording of this episode, it hasn't happened yet. However, it's all over the internet that the Queen Bee, SJM herself, is going to be on the most popular female podcaster show out there, which is called Call Her Daddy. So the host of the show announced that, SJM is going to be on her show, and she titled the teaser, Who's Booked Next, with a winky face. And then she has all this stuff I don't know how I'm going to announce who this person is or what we're going to say. And meanwhile, she has all these different books, behind her, which are all SJM books, of course. And so there's all this speculation surrounding what Alex Cooper, the podcaster, is getting at with this and what exactly she's trying to tell us through this whole time. And so she's really got a massive amount of followers and fans for this show. She used to be a part of the Barstool sports team, and which is the production team, of course, for sports casting, and eventually got her own show in 2018, started that show, and it's now one of the highest grossing female podcast, if not the highest grossing female podcaster on Spotify. And the show, again, is called Call Her Daddy. And the whole point being, she brings all these different guests on, and the question is she going to release anything? And I don't mean Alex, I mean SJM. Because Miss SJM is notorious for not releasing shit and leading us on a goose ride, okay? So the internet has lost its mind again because we have some kind of something that SJM is going to be doing for us. There was also something that posted on the Barnes & Noble website that had a novella pre-order and book 6 pre-order. I don't know if that's something. So the bookish rant and down the rabbit hole thing I'm trying to get at is, do you think we have an announcement coming from SJM? Is that why she's doing this big interview? A. And B, if so, what are we getting? Because there's also speculation that we're going to be getting a Crescent City 4th book in this release as well. That she's going to tell us that book 6 of ACOTAR and book 4 of Crescent City are both done, and they're going to be a tandem read situation. So there's been a lot of book talkers who have lost their mind over that theory. So I was just wondering what your thoughts are on all of this speculation and wildness that we have.
Well, I think it's definitely going to be a book announcement because she doesn't do interviews. Sarah J. Maas is not an interviewer type author. She keeps everything to herself. So if she's going on a podcast, it is to release some information. I need book 6. I need Azriel's perspective. I need to see the wingspan.
What did Lorcan do?
I need to know where where everything is going. I need to know where the fuck Moore's been this entire time. Why? There's all these questions. Yes, I think we need a Crescent City 4. I'd rather have ACOTAR 6 first because we've been waiting longer.
Okay.
Way longer. But yeah, I believe it's definitely going to be some sort of announcement. It'd be cool if they'd be a tandem read just because those universes are Crescent City 3 is after the 5th ACOTAR book. So it would make sense if they are colliding in a way to do a tandem read.
Waiting to see how all this mating bond stuff situation is and everything that's going on. I know for folks listening, no, we've never covered ACOTAR. We've never covered ACOTAR because there have been podcasters that have covered ACOTAR, multiple podcasters in depth multiple times. However, are we massive fans of ACOTAR as well? Yes, we are.
Yes.
We are. It's a gateway drug. We are massive fans.
It is the gateway drug.
Quite literally. And I have to agree with you. SJM is notoriously private. Her last post was the post she made last year about the completion of the draft for ACOTAR 6, and we haven't heard from her on social media since then. So I definitely think that this Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Central Time on March 4th, we're going to be getting some news. The way that the internet is just going to be like leaning forward as they're listening to this is going to be insane. So we definitely have to find out what's going on. Oh, yeah, exactly. On the edge of our seats, like, Alex, give us something here. Ask the right questions, girl. Come on. SGM is definitely going to be preparing to say something. And I just, who knows? What if she's also going to tell us that the rights for the show got picked up? That's good speculation.
And we're going to have a series, not a movie.
Yeah, like what if she's going to tell us about a book and she's also like, I also have more news and we're getting the show back.
Would you rather have ACOTAR or Crescent City as a show first?
Crescent City.
I agree. I think Crescent City would look better. I mean, I know.
Yeah. I love Crescent City. My favorite. I'm biased though. I know. It's my favorite of all the series.
I of course.
I love Throne of Glass. I will. Let me just before everyone comes for me. I love Throne of Glass. I loved ACOTAR. I loved Crescent City. I just loved Crescent City more, and that's just me.
I think that's fair.
Personal.
You're entitled to that opinion.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I think it would just with the incorporation of technology as well as like the mythical world. I think that would look like, but compared to the other, because with Throne of Glass, a lot of that is we've not that we've seen that setting specifically, but the whole fantasy and like a feudal type era, we see that a lot. But Crescent City is something entirely new. But I also want to see all the different courts in ACOTAR.
Oh yeah,
I think Crescent City
it's going to be visually beautiful too. Yeah, Crescent City, the city itself, would be really cool to see, and just all the different creatures and the world that they're in, and all of that. It just would be really cool and modern to see. But I also think ACOTAR visually, but you don't get to see all that stuff until like later in the series. Whereas in the opening of Crescent City, you're like dropped in and you really visually get to see like a lot right out of the gate. So I think that too is why I vote for Crescent City.
Yeah, you're on that note, pretty much stuck in the spring court. So yeah, I agree.
In book one. So my thought is that this segment's either going to age really well or it's not. And I guess we'll find out here in a little bit where we land. But I did think that I needed to talk about the most popular talked about subject of the week and of the time that we're in on social media, and that is by far that Sarah J. Maas is going to finally be on a podcast, and it's not a small one. It's a master. We aspire to one day be as big as Call Her Daddy. We're just not there yet. So congrats to Alex. Love that for you. And very jealous that you're going to have SJM on your show, but also grateful that she's going to be joining you and spilling some tea, hopefully. Can't wait to have you have a listen to that segment. So yeah, so that'll be March 4th. If you haven't listened to it already, once it comes out and there's news, you should probably do that. But also, I'm glad that you're here with us, which leads us to Mystery Q&A.
Now it's time for Mystery Q&A. These questions have not been shared with either of us prior to asking.
You can take a book, which we talked about books to screen recently in Down the Rabbit Hole. You can take any book you want and put it on the screen. What are you picking? Your book. You're directing. So your vision. Truly your own. No budget.
No budget. Unlimited budget. I would have to go with Carissa Broadbent's series. Like, I want to do the entire thing. I would do the entire series.
Okay.
Yes. And I do animated.
Okay.
Like K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would do an animated series with that. Just because no matter what the budget is, I don't think it would look nearly as good as it not being. Yeah. So that would be the one series. It will be a series. Every book would be a season. There we go. That is what I would do. Because Carissa Broadbent deserves way more than she's gotten. I hope her book series continues to keep track or get traction.
Me too. I agree. It's so underhyped. It's still criminally underhyped. Her books. I still feel are criminally underhyped as a whole. I know we're covering Anathema, but I really do think it would be really great visually as a film. There's
Mhm.
a lot of elements in this book that are visually stunning and in depth, and I think that it would convey very well on screen.
I
So I
think it'd
know
be
we're
good as a
covering
video
this
game,
book.
to
It
be
would be great
honest.
as a video
It'd be
game. That's a
really good
great
as a video
idea.
game.
Yeah, it would be really good as a video game. I actually see it more as a TV series because they're so
Yeah.
dense, these books. I don't think you
Mhm.
can really cover the level of depth that you would need in one film. But on that note, we were watching Fallout recently, and the way that that's a video game turned into a show, and it's like there's some redemption here and there, but it's overall like a very dark show. And then I think about
Well,
Game of
yeah,
Thrones.
it's
Again, same thing, very dark show, but same
Fallout
level of
can't
depth
be,
of
like,
book.
a happy show. It's about
No, of course not.
nuclear fun.
Yeah, exactly. But even with the characters and the storytelling and all that, right? So the
Mhm.
humanity of everything. I think Anathema has a lot of that depth as well. And a lot of these episodes are like not going to end on a high note. So you're not going to be watching it for its happy-go-lucky vibes. You're definitely watching it as a testament to this darkness of this world and levels of humanity that people do or don't have and
Right.
exploring those different ideas. But hey, eventually you'll get a one horse situation. Eventually,
And touch her and
we'll
die.
get touch her and die. We'll get some good banter. It will happen
Mhm.
eventually. But I think it would be very interesting to have like his and hers perspectives. They're in different worlds starting out. So visually, it would be really cool. Crescent
Yeah.
City, by far, definitely agree there. But that's my question.
Alright. My question is, and so in this series, we have Zavander and Branimir, they have their Predoja, which is the Branimir spiders and Zavander's scorpions, and that's like a byproduct
I
of their
almost
sable
asked you
fire, their
this.
magic.
Oh, I almost asked you
Well, now
this.
I'm
Okay, keep
asking
going.
you. So
Yeah,
if you were to have a Predoja,
I knew
what
it.
would you want it to be?
And so they're kind of like, they're not pets. They're like protective of you and they're like of
Yeah.
you. So I feel
Yes.
like you wouldn't want like a dog or something like that. You would still want like your dogs and horses aside from this. On the train of like the whole arachnid, insects, whatever type of deal, I think it'd be really cool. I think the sound of wings, especially on insects, is like very ominous. And I also think like the idea of a stinger. So I would think of something like some kind of a wasp, maybe, would be kind of
Okay.
cool. Because they can still like burrow. There's still, you don't know the lethality of whatever the sting would be. And you can
Mhm.
have swarms of them. So I
Yeah.
feel like you could hear that coming for you. Maybe a growl would be worse, but I feel like you need something kind of small or something that can reshape into multiple sizes because that's kind of what we see with the
Mhm.
scorpions. So that's the first thing I thought of. If we're thinking of an animal that's a bigger creature or something like that, I would have to give it more thought. But the first thing that came to mind would be like a wasp, something like that.
Okay. That's valid with wasps. I I think I would want mine. I don't want bugs. I really don't. So I would
Same,
want it like I
but
want
what do
like
you want?
snakes. I would
I thought of
because
snakes too.
yeah, they
But
can
I
be
just kept
different
coming back to,
sizes.
like, hearing a swarm of wasps and, like, yeah,
Yeah, but what if
they
you
can
hear
be
like a swarm
vicious.
of like rattles, like the snakes like rattling their tail,
Well,
you
step on
know?
one, you know?
Okay. Take a fox
Statistical
water.
odds of my all of my wa yeah, but statistical odds of all my wasps, like, you're not gonna get them all, okay? Going
No,
back to
that's
gotta
true.
catch them all. I just
That's
we've gone full circle now this episode,
okay,
okay? You're not gonna
Beedrill.
catch them all.
Relax.
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah.
Oh my god. All right. That wraps up Mystery Q&A. So before we wrap up, let's talk about what's coming up next on Book Club After Dark.
Yes. We're going to continue our journey here through the Eating Woods and through Anathema. We're going to be going into chapter 40 through 51 of Anathema by Keri Lake. And we look forward to further dissecting this novel with you.
And don't forget, we want to hear from you. If you have thoughts on Anathema or suggestions for future reads, drop a comment below or message us on one of our social media platforms at Book Club After Dark Pod. Show us your fan art theories or anything bookish you'd like to share.
You can also visit our website, bookclubafterdark.co, to stay up to date on our cozy content and check out our merch.
That's all for tonight. Sleep tight, night owls. Until next time, happy reading.